to Guitar Books, the podcast. My name is Joe McMurray. This is the second little mini topic I'm going to be talking about as opposed to doing book reviews. So in the last episode, I talked about making long-term and short-term goals to help you get better at playing guitar. Today, we're going to look at the nitty-gritty of practicing in order to achieve those goals. So let's say you have the long-term goal of playing at a local bar in the next year or two. So you have the short-term goal of learning the tune Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison, and maybe the even shorter-term goal of learning, maybe this week you'd like to memorize and master the verse of that song. So how do you actually go about making a practice schedule that works for you? So say you are working or you're going to school and you don't have a lot of time. Maybe you can only spend 20 minutes playing guitar. Maybe less, but we'll go with 20 minutes for now. Maybe you can spend 20 minutes playing guitar 3 days a week. So you can do a lot with that 20 minutes if you are efficient with that practice time. So what I like to do, I like to write out practice schedules. So I like to have a quick warm-up, and then I focus on one or two main practice items, and I try to rotate through those items each day. It really depends on how much time you have, but let's say you've got, you're trying to learn Brown Eyed Girl and become a better guitarist in general, and you only have 20 minutes today. So maybe today you warm up for 2 minutes doing some warm-up exercises, arpeggios. I like to do rasgueados just to warm up my fingers. It's a classical flamenco thing, but whatever it is, there are lots of books with warm-up exercises. I can show you some in another video. But maybe you spend 2 minutes doing that to get your fingers going. Maybe you use an easy tune to warm up with. Then maybe you spend 10 minutes working on Brown Eyed Girl. Specifically, it's not efficient to play the entire tune start to finish once or twice and you're all done with that. If the tune is 3 minutes and you play it twice, that takes 6 minutes. And while you're doing that, you kind of, if there were parts that were difficult or you didn't play well, by the time you get to the end of the tune, it's like you've forgotten about those parts, you've lost sight of them. You played through them, but you didn't really work on them. So it's okay to play through the song once, but then the section that you're really working on, zoom in on that section. It could be the verse, it could be one line of the verse. Really focus on playing that, because in your 10 minutes playing this song today, you could play the whole song 3 times and with little change, or you could play it once and you could play 10 seconds of that song a bunch of times. So slow down, like zoom in on those 2 measures and play them very slowly and work out the details, work out the fingerings, work out the small intricate details so that you can play it smoothly and cleanly with good tone, with dynamics, with musicality, and really work on that. So let's say you've done your 2 minutes of warm-up, you've used up a few minutes of your Brown Eyed Girl time running through the song, you use several more minutes focusing on 2 measures of the song, and then maybe you play through the whole thing again so that you hear your little part in context within the song. And then you have 8 more minutes to work on something else. Maybe you spend those 8 minutes reviewing repertoire, so reviewing the other songs that you're going to need to perform at the bar, because if you're going to perform at the bar, you need to have your repertoire all performance ready, and that's hard to do. If you're like me, I don't have the greatest memory. I need to have played everything within the last week or 2 in order to feel confident going in and performing it at a gig. Fingerstyle guitar is more difficult to me than just playing chords and singing. There's a lot of intricate details. There's songs that I haven't played in years that I just strum the chords and sing, and I can get by it. I could go play it somewhere, at least if I remember the lyrics. But playing fingerstyle guitar, it's very intricate, and you need to have everything somewhat fresh. So I try to run through some of my repertoire every day, every practice session, if I have the time. I mean, I tried to build that in. So that could be a 20-minute practice session to help you achieve that long-term goal of playing at a local bar. Maybe you're your long-term goal is to write a fingerstyle guitar composition. So maybe you have a short warm-up and then you spend time working on a technique or method book. Maybe that's 10 minutes in the Hal Leonard fingerpicking guitar method book, or maybe the Alfred book. And maybe you'll learn some new technique or learn a song in there or an etude that inspires you to write your own song. Maybe after you've worked in that book for a little bit, maybe you spend 5 minutes trying to write a new melody that would be a part of your new song, and then you spend the last few minutes of your practice session working on repertoire review. There's lots of variations in how you can do this, but I encourage you to really get into the nitty-gritty detail of planning an efficient practice session that will help you achieve your long-term goals. If your two goals are to both perform out at local gigs and write your own fingerstyle guitar compositions, maybe one day you have the practice session that helps you to learn that new tune and build up your repertoire, and the other day you spend more time songwriting and learning some new techniques or ideas that might inspire you, like going through method books, spending time in my Arranging for Fingerstyle Guitar book, which you can order as an ebook through the link in the show description below. Books like my book or a method book or something, they really do help to give you ideas. Maybe you build in listening time to your practice session. Maybe for 4 minutes you listen to Tommy Emmanuel play a song, and you might be inspired to write your own song in a style reminiscent of that song. Maybe it's just at a similar tempo, or maybe you want to write something using Travis picking kind of like he does. So it's really helpful to listen to music while you're trying to songwrite or leading into a songwriting session. It's also helpful to practice using a metronome to make sure that you are able to keep a steady tempo while you're performing. If you're playing classical guitar, there is some push and pull to the tempo, which can be really musical and an effective thing to do. But there's a lot of songs that groove, and if you are changing tempo drastically between sections, it can be a little hard for people to listen to, so it's good to practice with a metronome. It's also good to practice building speed with a metronome. It's really useful. I'll talk about it in another video. The metronome's great. I don't use it all the time while I practice, but I do incorporate it into a lot of my practicing. You may want to build in some practice time to study music theory, to work on your tone, just work on getting a great sound out of your guitar with just playing slow whole notes on your guitar. This is really helpful. I've been doing this with my classical guitar, and my tone has been improving noticeably. And really, if you're playing and you don't have good tone, people aren't going to enjoy listening to it as much, even if you're playing amazing things technically. Sometimes just playing a slow tune with awesome tone is more impressive to people, and it'll help you in all of your playing. So I've been talking about how to build a practice schedule for you if you have 20 minutes to practice, but if you have an hour, you can just scale things up. You spend more time on each topic, or you can fit in more topics. If you have less time, you just scale it down and you squeeze it in, and you'll get a better idea of, you may need to adjust your long-term goals. If you only have 10 minutes to practice twice a week, maybe performing out in a year or two isn't as realistic, but you'll be able to gauge this for yourself based on the amount of practice time you have. It's definitely helpful to write this stuff down. I write out practice schedules for myself, for my students. I also document what I actually did. I keep a notebook of everything I practiced. I'm nerdy about it. I actually write that I spent from 9:56 a.m. to 10:10 a.m. doing whatever. I write all this stuff down so that I can look back in the future and see how my practicing has evolved. Sometimes it's just because I can't remember which tunes I practiced on which days, but it's really helpful for me to keep track of all this stuff, and it keeps me focused and keeps me efficient with my practice time. So that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. Please check out my latest album, Pins on the Map. It's a fingerstyle guitar album. There are a couple fingerstyle ukulele tracks. There's one piano track. It's available on all of the streaming services. And please like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.